Hey Jarvis, tell me what you see right now.
I'm seeing two monitors. The left one has OBS Studio running, and the right one has a code editor and a terminal. Looks like some Go programming is happening. Anything specific you'd like to know?
And tell me what you see right now.
The
And
view
t-
has changed. I'm now looking at your desk with a close-up of a black keyboard on a mouse pad with a map design. There are some sunglasses, a small electronic device, and keys on the desk as well. Is there something specific you'd like to point out? I'm looking at your desk setup now. There's a black keyboard and a world map mouse pad, some sunglasses, a few flash drives, and some tools in the background. Anything specific you need with any of this?
do you see any keys on the desk?
Yes, I see some keys tangled with a blue flash drive and a small circuit
And
board
my
in the middle of your
sunglasses? Do you
desk.
see my
Is that what you're
sunglasses?
looking for? Yep, those are right next to the mouse pad, just under the left monitor. Anything else you're searching for?
Where's the USB-C adapter here?
I spot a small black USB-C adapter sitting
And
right
there
in the
could
middle
be
of the
some
mouse
tools
pad,
as
just
well on the
behind the
desk.
keyboard.
Do you see the
Need a hand
tools?
plugging it in? Yes, I see what looks like a small orange and clear screwdriver set in a stand to the left, and possibly more tools in that black case behind the monitors. Is there anything specific you're trying to find or fix?
No, that's it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let me know if you need anything else.
Hey Jarvis, tell me what you see now.
I'm seeing a change in your display. It's mostly code and an editor with a terminal window overlaid showing a menu and a webcam preview box. Looks like you're running a program that uses both voice and camera. Anything specific you want to dive into?
And now what do you see?
The webcam preview window has just been closed. Now I can see more of the terminal window behind it. Anything you want to check in the terminal output?
Now I'm on Debian 12. How do I see the CPU temperature on the terminal?
To check your CPU temperature on Debian 12, you can use the sensors command. If it's not installed, you'll need to run sudo apt install lm sensors. Then run sensors detect to configure it, and finally just type sensors to get the readout. Are you ready to run those commands now?
I just ran the command. Could you look at the terminal and see what happened?
It seems you've got an error message that says unable to locate package lm sensors. That usually means the package manager can't find it with the current list of repositories. You might try running sudo apt update first to refresh your package list, and then try the install command again. Want to give that a shot?
I tried it, but still didn't work. Did I type everything correctly?
Looks like you typed sudo apt update correctly, and that part ran successfully. However, the install command failed again because the package les sensors still can't be found. It looks like there's a small typo. The package name should be lm-sensors, not les sensors. Try rerunning sudo apt install lm-sensors next.
Alright, so do you see that LM Sensors is already installed?
Yes, I can see in the terminal that the latest version is already installed. Now you should be able to run the sensors detect command to configure it, and then just type sensors to check your CPU temperature. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
You got it. Glad I could help you get that installed. Let me know if you hit any other snags or need more commands.
Hey Jarvis, how much money would I need to start my own data center?
That's a huge question. It really depends on the scale you're thinking of. A small, locally focused data center could be hundreds of thousands of dollars, while a larger enterprise-level facility could easily run into the millions or even billions. Key costs include the land, building construction, power infrastructure, cooling systems, networking equipment, and, of course, the servers themselves. What kind of area are you planning to serve, and what sort of capacity are you aiming for?
What's the cheapest option that I have?
The absolute cheapest option isn't building your own data center at all, but renting space in someone else's, known as colocation. Or even cheaper than that, you could use cloud services like AWS or Azure to host your applications and data online. That way you avoid all the upfront costs for physical space and hardware. Are you open to those options, or are you set on building something yourself?
No, I think I'll just drop this idea.
Sometimes that's the smartest move if the numbers don't add up, or it's not a priority. There are plenty of other ways to host your projects. Let me know when you move on to the next big thing.
Hey, thanks for your help.
No problem at all. Anytime. Feel free to reach out if anything else comes up.
Welcome to the deep dive on building a real-time AI assistant, much like Jarvis, using Go and the Gemini Live API. In this section, we will break down the essential steps and Go architecture required to create a low-latency, multimodal AI assistant that can see and hear. Now that you have seen the demo video, let's understand the code running behind this awesome stuff. Before we dive into the code, a quick heads up. I am running this on a Debian 12 system. My terminal commands and setup reflect that. If you are on a Mac or Windows, you will need to tweak the audio and video capture commands for your specific operating system. We now move into part 1, setting up the foundation for our Jarvis, starting with the brain of the operation, Google AI Studio. First things first, we need the brain of our Jarvis. Head over to Google AI Studio. It is absolutely incredible that Google lets developers access these cutting-edge models for free. There is no credit card required, and no forced signups for paid plans just to experiment. Read through the terms and conditions and click Continue if you agree. Then click on Get API Key and create API Key to generate a new key for this project. Once you have your API key, set it as an environment variable in your terminal. You could use a .env file and the go.env package in Go, but for this demo, exporting it temporarily directly in the terminal is the quickest way to get started. Also, make sure your microphone, speakers, and webcam are connected. Before writing any code, I tested my Linux audio pipeline to ensure my system could actually hear me. You can run this standard command. Speak into the mic for 5 seconds, and then play that test.wav file back. If you hear yourself, your hardware is ready. Now, let's move on to part 2, where we locate the specific model needed for our real-time, bidirectional communication. Google updates their models constantly. To find the exact one we need, we can hit the Gemini API directly from the terminal using a curl command. I added a filter specifically for bidigenerate content. That is the technical name for the bidirectional live API, essential for our Jarvis project. From that filtered list, I grabbed the latest Gemini 3.1 Flash Live Preview model, which gives us that ultra-low latency, interruptible, native audio-to-audio experience you saw in the demo. Next, in part 3, we reveal the magic behind how our AI assistant is able to see the world through your webcam and desktop. So how does the AI actually see your webcam and desktop? It doesn't actually stream a live MP4 video file. The process is simpler and more discreet. The Live API expects you to send individual JPEG images at a maximum rate of 1 frame per second. The AI strings those images together in its context window to understand what is happening in real time. Since we are using standard Debian tools for audio, we use the ubiquitous Linux tool ffmpeg to snap a picture from the webcam, which is /dev/video0 on my system, once every second, encode it to base 64, and fire it off to the WebSocket. Before building the Go app, do a quick sanity test in your terminal to ensure ffmpeg can pull a frame. Under the hood, screen sharing works the exact same way. We just point ffmpeg to capture the X11 desktop instead of the camera, sending individual frames. If you have multiple monitors, you can easily tweak the ffmpeg offset parameters to share just your primary monitor, your secondary monitor, or both combined. Finally, in part 4, we examine how all these pieces are glued together using Go, focusing on the core architectural elements. Now let's look at how we glued this all together in Go. This is where a solid understanding of backend fundamentals is crucial for building robust AI applications. We use standard Goroutines for concurrent tasks, like streaming audio and grabbing frames. We have an active WebSocket connection. We need to stream microphone data to Google while simultaneously grabbing frames from the webcam. I spun these tasks up using standard Goroutines, but because you cannot have 2 Goroutines writing to the same WebSocket at the exact same time without crashing the app, I implemented a sync.mutex. We lock the mutex, send the audio or video payload, and unlock it, ensuring concurrency safety. By the way, I have taught these exact concurrency concepts, including mutexes and goroutines, with multiple hands-on examples in my Go course. This project is exactly where those simple examples come into play to build robust microservices. To avoid choppy, robotic audio, we use exec.command to start the Linux aplay process exactly once when the program boots. We keep its stdin pipe open and just stream the bytes into it as they arrive. This persistent state ensures the audio is crystal clear. Next, we have JSON handling. The WebSocket expects very specific payloads. We are constantly doing JSON marshalling and unmarshalling to parse Google's responses and package our base 64 media chunks. Again, without knowing basic programming fundamentals like how to structure and marshal structs or maps in Go, you cannot integrate AI into your apps effectively. For the vision processing, I used a time.ticker inside a for-range loop. It ticks exactly once a second, triggers the command to take the photo, and sends it off, maintaining that 1 FPS rate. Finally, using buff.io to read the standard input, we created a clean CLI menu. If you type Q, the app safely breaks the loops, closes the WebSocket, and shuts down Jarvis cleanly. And that is how you build a multimodal, real-time AI assistant in less than 250 lines of Go. I'm actually planning to integrate some of these real-time agent capabilities into an upcoming project, so stay tuned for that. You can find the complete source code for this Jarvis project on my GitHub at github.com/CodeOvation. If you found this breakdown helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into backend engineering, and let me know in the comments what you plan to build with the Live API. I'll see you in the next one.